Hey, it's PHILA and you're watching PHILA TV, the ultimate YouTube channel. I'm no cinematographer, just a dude with a camera. Today we are going to switch gears and we are in my kitchen. Well, we're not really in the PHILA kitchen as you guys all know it. We are in Oxnard, California on a family vacation. And I figured since I've got everybody together, I will show you how this goy makes the killer latkes. A little story, about 25 years ago, I went to my first Hanukkah party with this family and they offered me some potato latkes that were bought at the local deli and frozen and thawed and reheated, and I ate one of them and I thought, my God, you guys are eating this deliberate? This stuff's horrible. And they said, well, this is pretty much all we have. So I said, next year I'm going to make potato latkes. They said, you're a goy, you don't even know anything about potato latkes. And I just know what things taste like. And I know how to make things, so anyways, I said I was going to make my own. Long story short, I made them. They were killer. Everybody loved them. I've been doing it every year for the past 25 years. So what I'm going to do is, I really don't have a recipe that I could share, but I'll give you kind of my techniques and my methodology and how I do things. I usually like to run 2 potatoes for every onion. The onion puts out a lot of moisture and a lot of flavor, and it'll really, really help giving it the taste and the texture we need. Also, the matzah meal is what really, really stands out, and really everybody says it gives it a lot of flavor. So the wetter I make it, the more matzah meal I could use. I might use 3 cans, I might use 2, I don't know yet. Like 4 dozen eggs. Like I said, I might use them all, I don't know. It depends on how wet I really need to make it. But the idea is I'm going to fill this bowl with my matzah mix, my potato latke mix, and from there, we're going to be cooking them on the fire in oil, and we're going to make it so everybody can eat them when they're fresh. Normally when I make them early in the morning, we eat them late in the evening, and I just don't think they're as good. So like I said, we are going to go from step 1 all the way through. And one of the most important things is a cheese grater, or a potato grater in this case. They dull out, and I usually just every year buy a new one. I usually have a few more of these. And you can see I bought cheap ones, I bought expensive ones, I bought the flat ones. I just can never find one that's super easy. And I like it, the texture when you hand grate it. A couple of times we put it through the food processor, and to me they turn out like mush, and I don't like it that way. So anyways, like I said, my idea is to fill this bowl and then whip these things out tomorrow. So anyways, I hope you guys are going to really like this video. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you're going to see how easy it is to make the killer potato latkes for Hanukkah on PHILA TV. We're back live here in PHILA's kitchen, and here's what we got going on. Okay, you do understand how potatoes rust. So I peel them and I get them put into the buckets of water, into a sink full of water, and you see all the peelings. And I also have the onions are done, ready to go, and like I do is I grate it into a bowl because I want to save all that juice, all that onion juice that's going to give it all that flavor and allow me to use up as much of the matzah meal as possible. I also want to get my eggs, like I said, I put them out for room temperature for just a little while, add a lot of salt, get them all broken down. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all these, but I want to have it ready to go so my potatoes don't turn brown. Because the second you grate them, the second you come in here, it's non-stop to get this thing cooked before they turn brown. Because after brown comes green, and nobody likes green latkes. Okay, so I'm getting a little tired of doing the potatoes. As you can see, my bowl is almost full. But, you just sit here and you just... And you're always going to have a little bit left. And I've got so much, I really don't care. So, like I said, you can see how this is turning brown already, and it's only been just a few minutes. So you immediately got to get in here, because the onions will help it stop browning. And then once you get your eggs in it, and you try and get enough salt in it, this will start to mush down and will look really nice when it's done. I leave my sink full of water so I can just dab it. And I never could put enough salt. And at this point, I'm going to put about half the egg wash in there. I'm going to kind of move it around. This gets messy, so like I say, I leave my sink full of water there because I'm going to be into that trying to rinse my fingers every second. And you can see I'm getting it as wet as possible. And I've already got my first 2 cans open because you don't want to lose any time here. Okay, so now the second can of matzo meal is going in. And like I said, I'm trying to get all the moisture out of here. And I'm not sure if I'm going to need that third one, but at least it'll be open. And of course, we'll go through this, throw it out. And again, I took everything out of the refrigerator and tried to get it to room temperature because it gets to the point where this is just so cold. And you can see now, I mean, it's a nice paste with all that liquid. I could add more egg, but then I have to add more matzo meal. And I think right now, we're looking good. So again, sink, unclean, cut. Now that we're at this part, my mix is ready to go. You want it to sit just for a couple of seconds, it'll start to break down. It won't be so much like hash browns. And then that gives you time now to get your area cleaned up while you're waiting. And you see I have a ton of eggs that are left, but we're not going to use them. And there's just too much salt in there to use it for anything else.
Too much what?
Too much salt in there to use it for anything else because I already pre-salted that. So now that I've got a little bit of an area ready to go, I want to get, okay, I like to use canola oil. They say it's one of the worst for you, but also for the best for you for cooking. You're going to put generous amounts. And you want to get these heating up before you do anything. You want to get generous amounts going. And then we'll give this a second for it to heat up. Sorry, I lost audio, so I kind of have to do it freestyle here. All right, so now that the oil is nice and hot, I take just a little piece and throw it in there, and you can see, you know, bubbling around, and you know that oil's ready to go. Now it's all about oil management. You don't want it to get too cold. You don't want it to get too hot. So I take 2 spoons, and I just gently scoop some nice little bundles in there. I have sat there and made little patties and try and put it in there, but that made it just as hard. So what I do is I scoop them in one at a time. I think I fit 7 in this pan and maybe 6 in my other pan. You know, I've ran 3 pans at a time, but it's a little tough because, you know, you don't want to get this oil too hot because you could have some problems. All right, so once I get it all set up, I just, like I said, leave it in a little ball. And what I want to do is I want to crisp the bottom a bit, you know, so it, you know, starts to build its shell, because that's the whole thing. You want it crispy on the outside, but nice and soft and moist on the inside. So I get it in there, and after they've cooked for just a couple of minutes, you know, I know that they're going to be ready to go. So it takes a little bit of time. And like I said, oil management is tough. So what I do is I get 2 different spatulas. One has holes and one doesn't have holes. And this is so it doesn't stick. You can see I set the one down and I push it down with the other because you don't want to splash this hot oil. And I just want to gently give it a little push to flatten that bottom out. And you'll see on the next step, you know, once you flip them, they'll be kind of crispy. And then I'll do it the other way, using the side with the holes. So that's kind of how I run through this part of it. All right, what you got to be careful for is, again, the splashing. That's why I have 2 spatulas. And as you see, it's starting to look a little cooked on the top. So what I do is I flip them over. And you can see these are pretty light, but as the oil gets older, you know, and it starts cooking down, these will get a lot darker. So I try and get a bunch of light ones because there's going to be so many dark ones in just a bit. Okay, so what I do is after I flip them, carefully, again, because I don't want to splash, then with my spatula, now the one with the holes, I put it on this side so the oil can escape out, and I can just push them down a little bit to make them tighter. And then we move over to the other side. Same thing. This is the easiest way to make them so they don't splash. And you can see this one's cooking a lot slower, so we're going to let this one go a little longer. And with the spoons, you could sit here like this and pick up the little chunks and have something to put them in, like I'm going to be putting them in this can right here. And that'll help keep your oil clean. But you don't even have to worry about that. After you've done this a couple times, then you can scoop it out.
Action.
All right, as you can see, these have been going for just a little while. There's no time limit on them. You just kind of have to know when they're cooked. So as you can see, the first pan, they're getting nice and golden brown. So at this point, I put them on a drying rack, and I know that my salt level is not going to be adequate just because you can never get enough salt in it. I try and drip some of this oil off of there because I'd rather have it in the pan than on the potatoes. And so that's the first batch. All right, now it's time for everybody to dig in. Watch how fast. All right, as you can see, we're getting down to the last one or two pieces. Still got a couple more going. This batch is ready to go. We've got some drip drying here. We got a whole tray here. So to run through it again, I used a dozen onions, about 2 dozen eggs, 11 potatoes, lots of salt, lots of canola oil, lots of thyme, and lots of mess. If you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and remember you can follow me on Instagram at PHILA TV channel. I hope to do a few more. Again, this is PHILA TV, a goy making killer potato latkes.